I'm Veronica Dudo. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, nuclear option. President Trump is considering ways to end the government shutdown, but not every lawmaker is on board. Food for thought, how organizations are preparing to feed the needy as a vital program is set to be impacted by the impasse on Capitol Hill. Free speech in Finland, new developments in the case of a former member of parliament facing hate crime charges for putting a Bible verse on social media. Plus, a tall order, a major distinction for a Catholic cathedral in Spain, and construction isn't even done yet. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight. President Donald Trump shakes up the debate over the government shutdown by suggesting Republican senators use the so-called nuclear option that would allow them to reopen the government with a simple majority, not requiring Democratic support. But the measure faces critics from both sides of the aisle. The president also said the Democrats have lost their minds. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Veronica, good evening to you. As President Donald Trump flew to Palm Beach, Florida today, he told reporters it's common sense. Open up the country. He said the shutdown proceeds because of this.
The Democrats just don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's wrong with them. They've never done a thing like this. They've become crazed lunatics. All they have to do is say, let's go, let's open up our country, and everything snaps back into shape.
Overnight, after greeting trick-or-treaters at the White House, President Donald Trump weighs in on the government shutdown. He says Democrats want trillions of dollars to be taken from our healthcare system and given to others who are not deserving, adding, "This will hurt American citizens, and Republicans will not let it happen. It is now time for the Republicans to play their trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster."
What the Democrats are doing right now is throwing a hissy fit because President Trump is so successful, and it needs to stop. The economic harm is real. It needs to stop.
National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett says the problems are only getting worse.
And it's just terrible that they're putting people's lives at stake. Government workers aren't getting paid, people aren't getting their food, airlines are having to delay their flights, all because of what?
Airline executives and labor leaders joined Vice President J.D. Vance outside the West Wing yesterday to emphasize the harm that could be done if Democrats don't vote to open the government before the holidays.
Look, it could be a disaster. It really could be, because at that point you're talking about people have missed 3 paychecks. They've missed 4 paychecks.
One Democratic lawmaker declaring he's not taking his salary until he says we get through this, and is demanding his Republican colleagues negotiate right now.
They're on the party of, bulldozing the White House and building a Marie Antoinette ballroom for the CEOs and the billionaires. And we're out here fighting for the health care benefits and the food benefits of the people.
Even Republicans point out getting rid of the filibuster would leave the political party in power virtually unchecked.
The 60-vote threshold has protected this country. And frankly, that's what I think this last election was largely about, because if the Democrats had won the majority, they probably would have tried to nuke the filibuster. And then you'd have 4 new United States senators from Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia. You'd have a packed Supreme Court. You'd have abortion on demand.
Now, tomorrow night, the president holds a MAGA dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Sunday, he returns here to Washington. And next week, one item on his schedule, he'll be meeting with the Hungarian Prime Minister. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
As the government shutdown runs into day 31, more than 1 million federal employees are missing paychecks. Now some are visiting food banks to feed their families. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us from a busy Alexandria, Virginia food bank that's been set up to help ease some of the pain.
Good evening, Veronica. Things are all quiet up on Capitol Hill as lawmakers are back at home in their states, but I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of the United Community Food Bank. They've teamed up with Capital Area Food Bank to be able to provide groceries to those federal workers who've been furloughed due to the shutdown. And what's this food going to do for you?
It's going to help me and my children eat for another week, I hope.
For 34 years, Thomas Samuels has worked for the federal government. He tells me it's frustrating to be in a food line.
It makes you wonder what is it worth doing 20, 40 years worth of service, and then all of a sudden, oh, you can't get paid because you're not performing, or we don't need you for right now, temporarily, we don't need you, stuff like that.
This is the second week Washington, D.C. based area food banks have handed out food to displaced federal workers. Last week, more than 1,500 families were helped, and each week the need becomes greater.
Everyone who arrives will get 2 boxes, a shelf-stable box with pantry essentials, rice, beans, spaghetti sauce, pasta, canned protein, and then they'll also get a box of produce, so fresh produce.
People are often living paycheck to paycheck, and just think about it if you have someone who has been sort of displaced by what's happening, that they're having to go and live with another family member, and so those families are now experiencing additional challenges with their resources, and so we're here to help.
Some are doing their part by volunteering.
We're here to, help each other, right? Support each other. We should do that every day. So that's why I'm always involved,
I feel very strongly that our government workers are underappreciated, and this is a really difficult time for everyone. And that's the least we can do to support them.
On a larger scale, over 40 million people stand to lose their food subsidies through the SNAP program starting tomorrow when it runs out of money. Just today, a federal judge ruled the Trump administration's plan to suspend food assistance benefits was likely illegal. However, the administration is appealing. Meanwhile, Catholic Charities has now launched a national fundraising effort to help those who no longer receive food assistance.
By the way, donations can be made at ccusa.online/shutdown. All the funds raised will be used to buy food that will be shipped directly to Catholic charity agencies across the country that have food banks. In Alexandria, Virginia, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
The FBI says it stopped a possible Halloween weekend terror attack in Michigan. The sources are describing it as ISIS-inspired. According to law enforcement officials, the plot unfolded in online chat rooms with undercover FBI agents as part of the conversation. The participants discussed whether to carry out an ISIS-inspired plot in the U.S. Authorities say agents became concerned when a group monitored online went to a shooting range with AK-47s and made a reference to a Pumpkin Day. 2 participants have been arrested and 3 others are being questioned. Their ages range from 16 to 20 years old. The faithful in Illinois are pushing back after the state Senate passes a measure to allow medical assistance in dying, also known as assisted suicide. Bishop Thomas John Pabrocki of the Diocese of Springfield in Illinois issued the following statement after the decision, saying in part, "Make no mistake, killing oneself is not dying with dignity. Doctors take an oath to do no harm. Now they can prescribe death. There are documented cases of patients being denied treatment and instead offered life-ending drugs. Individuals could also be coerced into taking the lethal drug. Physician-assisted suicide undermines the value of each person, especially the vulnerable, the poor, and those with disabilities. Pray for Governor Pritzker to reject this legislation." Medical assistance in dying is currently legal in 10 U.S. states, including California. A Finnish politician goes before the country's Supreme Court over a tweet of a Bible verse. In 2019, Paavo Rashanen posted this image on what was then Twitter. It shows verses from the first book of Romans regarding sexual sins. As a Lutheran, she was questioning her church's sponsorship of a Helsinki Pride event. Joining us to discuss this case is Paul Coleman, the executive director of the Alliance Defending Freedom. Paul, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Can you explain the basics of this case and the Supreme Court developments from yesterday?
So the case has been going on now for over 6.5 years. Päivi posted that tweet in 2019. The police then investigated a booklet that she wrote over 20 years ago to her church on marriage and human sexuality. There was another charge as well. The bishop who published the booklet in 2004 was also prosecuted. And so we've had in total something like 13 hours of police interrogation. We've had 2 court hearings involving now the district court, the Court of Appeal, all leading up to yesterday's Supreme Court case. So it really has been a very long ordeal for Päivi Räsänen, and it all comes down to this criminal charge of hate speech and the idea that the Christian beliefs on marriage and human sexuality are hateful, offensive, insulting, and should be criminalized.
Now, before it reached the Supreme Court, the two were unanimously acquitted by both the District Court and Court of Appeal. So why did it end up in the nation's top court?
Well, under the Finnish system, the prosecutor can appeal a not guilty verdict, which is very unusual to me as a Brit and also to Americans, but that's what is allowed in the Finnish system, and that's exactly what happened. So as you say, there were two unanimous acquittals in this case, but the prosecutor yesterday had a third opportunity to prosecute Päivi and Bishop Juhana, and essentially that means that the prosecutor gets multiple attempts to try their different arguments and see which ones will work. And so yesterday we had a full hearing at the Supreme Court with another day of examination, cross-examination, all about this tweet and this booklet from many, many years ago.
What comes next? When will a decision be handed down? And what do you think this could mean for Finland and even all of Europe?
We will probably be expecting a decision early in the new year. And the case is huge. As one of the largest free speech cases in Europe, certainly in Finland, because we have not seen, even with all of the challenges we have regarding freedom of speech in Europe, we've not yet seen criminal offenses for posting pictures of Bible verses. So if Päivi is ultimately convicted here, it will set a new low bar for freedom of speech in Europe, not just for Christians, but for everyone. At the same time, if we are successful in this case, it will set a very positive precedent for free speech and be an encouragement to Christians and others who simply want to freely express their beliefs in public, in the digital square, without fear of punishment or penalty.
Well, we'll certainly continue to cover this. Paul Coleman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A 2-year civil war raging in an African country has reached a dangerous new phase. This week, paramilitary forces in Sudan have taken control of the entire Darfur region. It comes after a 500-day siege of the city of El Fasher, the last stronghold of the regular military in the region. The violent takeover of El Fasher reportedly left hundreds of people dead, and aid groups are worried about the fate of thousands who are trying to escape. A UN migration agency says more than 36,000 people have fled the city since Sunday. Meanwhile, President Trump is speaking out about Nigeria. In a post on Truth Social, the president said Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria, adding that radical Islamists are to blame and that Nigeria is now a country of particular concern. He also says that he's asked the House Appropriations Committee to look into the issue and that the U.S. is ready and willing to help save the Christian population around the world. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly. Doctor Declaration. Tomorrow, the church will have a new doctor learn about the saint who earned the title. And tomorrow, we celebrate All Saints' Day. Does the church make saints? We dive into the canonization process. The Vatican is set to release a new doctrinal document on the role that the Blessed Mother plays in human salvation. Faithful Mother of the People will be released November 4th, addressing the Virgin Mary's cooperation in the work of salvation. It is believed the new document will reflect on the title of co-redemptrix that has been used for the Blessed Mother for centuries, but never declared a dogma of the Church. The prefect of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith said the text will focus on, quote, various Marian themes. Tomorrow, there will officially be a new doctor of the Church. Back in July, the Vatican announced that St. John Henry Newman would be declared a doctor of the Church. The official declaration will happen tomorrow. Newman famously converted from the Church of England to Catholicism in the 19th century. He also contributed to the understanding of the faith, especially regarding the development of doctrine. Pope Leo will mark the feasts of All Saints and All Souls this weekend with several papal liturgies in Rome. EWTN Vatican journalist Benedict Sedegren tells us more about the meaning of the Solemnity of All Saints and the men and women canonized by the Pope this year.
From the time of the early martyrs to the modern day, the Church has long celebrated lives of heroic virtue and holiness. Servants of God, venerables, blesseds, and saints, their stories continue to inspire and draw people closer to Christ. In the Church's earliest centuries, it was the faithful themselves who recognized sanctity and prayed to those they considered saints. Over time, this role gradually passed to bishops and finally to the popes themselves. When the Pope canonizes someone, he's not making a saint, but declaring that the soul of that person is in heaven and that they are worthy of universal veneration. The number of canonizations has increased significantly since the pontificate of Pope St. John Paul II, who declared a total of 482 saints, including Padre Pio and José María Escrivá. Since his election in May, Pope Leo has already canonized 9 people. On September 7, the Holy Father proclaimed 2 young Italian men, Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati, as saints in a long-awaited Mass that drew thousands of pilgrims to Rome. The following month, the tapestries of 7 new saints already hung from St. Peter's Basilica. José Gregorio Hernández Cisneros, Saint Maria del Monte Carmelo Rendiles Martinez, Peter Torot, Ignatius Maloyan, St. Vincenza Maria Poloni, St. Maria Troncati, and Bartolo Longo have now also entered the Church's canon of saints. To honor all men and women the Church recognizes as saints, both known and unknown, the Church sets aside a day a year, All Saints' Day. Until 2015, Pope Francis celebrated the solemnity of All Saints at a cemetery in Rome to highlight the connection between the Church on earth and the Church in heaven. But for the past 10 years, the late Holy Father shifted to celebrating Holy Mass on All Souls' Day instead, in suffrage for all the faithful departed. For as long as the Church endures, it will continue to proclaim saints. Pope Leo has already approved the beatification of 11 priests, 9 Polish priests martyred at Auschwitz and Dachau under the Second World War, and 2 diocesan priests killed by the communist regime in the 1950s Czechoslovakia. He also promulgated decrees recognizing 4 new venerables, a Spanish Cistercian nun, a Spanish Dominican priest, an Italian diocesan priest, and an Italian Carmelite friar. While a canonization is the Church's official recognition of someone as a saint, the Church also believes that many more unknown saints are in heaven interceding for the faithful. All Saints' Day is a reminder of the call to follow their examples and one day join them in full communion with God in heaven. In Rome, Benedict Cedegrian for EWTN News Nightly.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, to the heights. This Catholic cathedral is the world's tallest church, and it's not even finished yet. Plus, All Hallows Eve, a new children's book, explores the true meaning of the holiday. We hear from the author. Catholic cathedral in Spain is now the world's tallest church. La Sagrada Familia stands 535 feet above the city of Barcelona, and it's still growing. Once its central tower of Jesus Christ is completed, the church will be nearly 570 feet tall. Construction began back in 1882 and is funded largely through tourist donations. The previous tallest church was in Ulm, Germany. Today is Halloween, and the true meaning behind the holiday is often forgotten in the midst of trick-or-treating. In an effort to highlight Halloween's Christian roots, one Catholic author decided to write a children's book. Anthony DeStefano released his new book, All Hallows Eve, which tells the story of a group of friends who discovered the true meaning of Halloween after encountering a mysterious woman who prays in a cemetery. Joining us now is Anthony DeStefano, author of All Hallows Eve. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, why did you write a children's book about Halloween?
Well, you know, we talk a lot about putting Christ back in Christmas, but I think it's time we started putting Hallow back into Halloween. I wrote this book because Halloween has been hijacked. There's no other way to put it, hijacked by the secular culture. And today it's become almost exclusively about costumes and candy and ghosts and goblins, and in many cases, an unhealthy fascination with evil. But Halloween actually comes from the great Catholic feast of All Hallows Eve, which is the vigil of All Saints' Day, And for centuries, Christians have seen this as a holy time to remember the saints in heaven and to pray for the souls in purgatory. And I think, unfortunately, many people have forgotten this truth, and some people even think that Halloween is anti-Christian, and that's not the case. So by writing this story, I wanted to try to reclaim Halloween, do my little part to reclaim it for what it truly is, a deeply spiritual holiday centered on prayer and penance and remembrance of the dead. And especially I wanted to give children and their parents an engaging way to celebrate the holiday in line with their faith, but without losing the fun and the mystery and even the scary excitement that kids naturally love about this season.
Now, as you just reminded viewers about the true meaning of Halloween and its roots, can you tell us a little bit about the story itself and how you came up with the idea?
Sure. Well, the story is told through the eyes of a young girl who, along with her friends, sneak into a cemetery one Halloween night to have some fun. They're just looking for some spooky thrills, but instead they encounter a mysterious old woman, and this old woman chastises them for playing among the tombstones and tells them to be more respectful to the dead. And then she proceeds to tell them a story, a kind of an eerie story, about a naughty little girl who grew up to become a very selfish woman, but someone who repented before she died. And through this tale that she tells the children, they learn about the reality of purgatory, the need to pray for the dead, and the true meaning of Halloween. So this book tries to blend suspense and surprise and even a little scariness with a strong spiritual message.
Can you tell us why you decided to write a book about purgatory and, of course, why it's important to pray for people there?
Well, purgatory is one of the most misunderstood teachings in the Catholic Church. It's not a second chance after death, and it's certainly not hell. Purgatory is a temporary state of purification for souls who have been saved already. They've died in God's grace, but they still need to be cleansed before entering heaven. The book of Revelation says that nothing unclean can enter heaven. So even though our sins are forgiven, the residue, the attachment to sin can still remain, and God in his mercy allows those stains to be purified. And that's why the church sets aside All Souls Day every year to pray for those souls. Now, I don't think it's hard for children at all to understand this concept. Listen, if a child was told that they were going to meet the president or the pope tonight, or they had to go to a big wedding party, then the child would know they had to wash their face, comb their hair, change out of their gym clothes. Purgatory is sort of like a cleanup spot where people go before they get to heaven. And just like we need to clean up before attending a party, purgatory is the place where souls get cleaned up before the most special party of all, the heavenly banquet with God. And I think that's easy for kids to understand and important for them to understand, because they can help get souls out of purgatory.
Anthony DiStefano, thanks so much. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.